No matter who you are, where you live, or what your personality is like, we have all experienced what it's like to be in an argument. Welcome back, guys, to another Wednesday night Bible study. We're pushing pause. We're taking a week to kind of just explore this idea and just this on how to argue. And tonight we're going to get into some maybe things that might resonate with you, that you might have been feeling for the past couple of weeks as we're kind of just going through different seasons of our life. And I do pray that this message blesses you. But, you know, to be real, growing up, I got to experience a lot of different arguments. Having 6 younger siblings, having 2 parents I saw things a little bit differently from them. I've experienced a ton of arguments and different things. And having best friends that also had 7 kids in their family, and there are a lot of different personalities and a lot of different conflicting things that kind of made up. And so whether it was from who the best baseball player was, or if righties were better than lefties, or who my favorite superhero was, or who was the best at their specific craft. I mean, there are so many different things to have conflicts and argue about. But for me, growing up with two brothers, in a group of 7 kids, yes, but my 2 brothers and I would say that we have differing opinions and differing vantage points, especially when you're growing up. I mean, for me, I was more of the sporty dude, so I was a lot more active in different things. We all played sports, but my first brother, he was a huge reader, and that dude was really in and out of books, and he was a huge bookworm, and he really enjoyed studying and different things like that. And while my second brother, the third in the family, was more of the creative type. And so for us 3 to kind of have a similar bond, we would definitely argue about who was in charge whenever mom left to go get groceries. We would argue what was the best course of action to clean up schedules or different things, and who was going to make the beds, who was going to clean up the rooms. It was just a really kind of a melting pot of ideas and personalities that honestly, we ran into conflicts all the time, especially about how we were going to do certain things and tasks. But everybody has this kind of like a go-to style for arguing. And in the same way, nearly everybody has something they want to fight for. A subject that gets them ready to throw down. In our world, honestly, is full of arguments, especially in this time. I mean, who's going to win the World Series, the Los Angeles Dodgers or the Tampa Bay Rays? Or, who's going to win this next round of Among Us? Is it red? Because they're always sus, it seems to be. But or maybe it's completely different. Maybe you're at home and you're kind of feeling this tension about what's the next week going to look like, this next month going to look like, or maybe the presidential election has kind of got your family, extended family, in tiffs, as you've seen just those interactions with one another, and it can be frustrating so many times that we don't really know how to navigate, and we maybe have seen bad examples of how to argue. But maybe when the world around you is in constant conflict, most people just tend to do one of these 3 things. Number 1, they just go straight for the jugular, straight to anger. You pick your side and you get angry at anybody who is against that side. You don't even pretend like that other side even exists. So you fight and you try to change that person, the opponent, in order to see your side. Or maybe you kind of feel torn. You don't really have a side, which side to take, but you know for sure that you want to, not sure whether you care for a lot about the argument or not. You see both sides, and so many people angry about it, and you wonder if you should be angry about it too. Or maybe you just couldn't care less. You're like, I don't really see the issue with this thing that you're calling an issue. I think it's just a non-issue, and that we should just go this way and do it this way, or not do anything about it at all, because it's just not an issue. It is completely void of anything of my attention or anything like that. When we really get involved in an argument, though, we are going after one thing: to win. When we get into an argument, we have a goal of trying to win that argument. We all have a few tactics that we've practiced, and maybe in a room, or maybe as we mull over our last debate or our argument, we try to say, hey, this is my tactic and my ploy. The next time that we get into a little tiff like this, we'll catch them off guard. Maybe it's through yelling at somebody, trying to intimidate them, or silence. Maybe it's ghosting, or actually showing up to the fight, talking to the person and just letting them know and everybody around them that they are completely wrong, and how wrong they are. Whether in our homes or on social media or in the culture that we observe, we are surrounded by big questions and big arguments for and against nearly everything. With that in mind, in a time that we can't avoid these arguments, what are we supposed to do? How can we be better at arguing? We're going to take a look tonight at a passage in the book of James. Now, James was a brother of Jesus. And what makes James so interesting is that he actually grew up thinking that Jesus was crazy. He didn't believe that Jesus was actually the Son of God, and that he just grew up thinking that, oh, he's my older brother, kind of got some strange thoughts, kind of got some strange teaching. I don't know why he's not showing up at, he disappears for like 3 days at the temple. We don't really know, but the point is here. So when Jesus had left home and started teaching in the Judean countryside, and traveling around with messages about God, what God was like, what did James do? Well, James, he didn't want anything a part of that. He just stayed away. And so the point is that we can assume that James responded this way because they were siblings. And I'm willing to guess that if an older sibling says that they are the son of God, that you're probably going to keep your distance away because, the shame and honor culture back in the day that we see in several other cultures, it was very prevalent. And just to disassociate as far as possible, just to try to remain, to keep some honor in your family. But that's why it's interesting to read what James had to say about conflict, tension, and convincing others that you're right. Check out this verse. It's James 1, verse 19. It says, "My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry." Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. James began to see something that he didn't see before. His brother wasn't acting like God, who he really was, but he was God in a body. When James changed his mind about Jesus and saw him for who he really was, it put everything else in perspective, including the conflict. James said that we should be slow to speak and slow to become angry. He first instructs us, though, to listen. Hear things from another person's perspective and allow them to complete their thought. And whether they might be right or they might be basing this resolution or this resolve out of a pool of maybe not so great facts or actual facts, but maybe out of emotion, we still have to allow them to expound, and we still have to let them to see what their perspective is, and we have to be willing to listen. We have to also be ready to be slow to speak and slow to become angry. And this is important because it doesn't mean that we shouldn't speak at all, that we should just passively go through life. It doesn't mean that we sit back and take whatever that somebody throws at us. It means that we don't speak reactively, impulsively. We pause, we take a deep breath, and we compose ourselves and our thoughts and emotions before we speak. We all know, we've all felt maybe, what it's like to be quick to speak and maybe be quick to speak, to be spoken to as well. Somebody acts out in a brash moment and those words that you regret saying now, cut so deep into a friend's relationship or a parent's relationship that you had to wait for a while to build back that trust and that trust between you two, and that respect and honor between you two. And it doesn't, we all know what it's like to be quick to speak and quick to become angry. And often the people we're fighting against, will matter far longer than the thing that we're arguing about. The things that we're going to be, the people that we're talking to, that we're reasoning with, that we're arguing with, those people are a lot more important and will last far longer than the issue that we're talking and arguing about. You never win an argument if you lose the relationship. You can never win. You can never win an argument if you lose the relationship. You might disagree upon something, but God has placed you in some people's lives to impact them. And you guys will probably have different points of view. Some people come from an older perspective. Some come from a younger perspective. But it doesn't mean that there isn't a way to bridge that gap. And you never want to lose that relationship. Not just for the sake of not losing the relationship, but you always want to be gracious as much as you can. But you never win an argument if you lose the relationship. And maybe instead of asking, how do I win the argument, the question becomes, and we should be asking, is how do I win this relationship? Figuring out how to handle some arguments or disagreements has been one of the hardest parts of being a mature human being. It's not easy, but there are a few tips that discovered alongside of people coming alongside of me that make it a little bit more possible. And first of all, I would honestly have this verse, honestly, in James 1:19 is one of the first things. And so, I would just have you repeat it. Maybe say it out loud with me. My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Let's say that again. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Maybe that in the heat of the moment, next time that you're in an argument with somebody, maybe if that verse comes up into your mind, you say, God, help me to remember to listen. Maybe be quick to listen and slow myself down, so that I can be slow to speak, and so that I do not become angry within myself. And allow me to speak conscious words, to thoughtful words, and allow me to make sure that I place reason into this, as well as being able to connect and to make this, to win this relationship rather than just the argument. And I would actually try to memorize this verse, and I hope that you make the image that I sent you, that your screensaver for it, maybe even just this week, through Sunday even, and just allow yourself to, every time you open up your phone, just to see it right in front of you. Also, whenever you have this, maybe you have these emotions, just say pause and pray. Whenever you have a moment, and maybe you have to keep eye contact with the person that you're arguing with, say a quick prayer to the Lord. Just say, Lord, help me to win this relationship and not just this argument. Give me the word to speak, and gently and calmly, in order that you may be glorified. Maybe that is a good prayer to pray in that moment. And then also empathize. You may not always see where they're coming from or the logic that they're using, but maybe you can see how they came to the conclusion that they're coming to. Maybe this is the way that they've seen things all of their life, and maybe they have some wisdom in there, but we need to make sure that we're aligning ourselves with God's way and God's Spirit as we talk with them. And not to throw up a guard, but just to help try to understand where they're coming from as well. We may not be able to change the people the way people behave when it comes to conflict, arguing or fighting, but we can change how I behave when it comes to those conflicts. And that's one of the reasons, that we talk with one another, that we fellowship, that we make sure that we have those conversations with our friends, those people that are here at church, and we allow ourselves to say, hey, we might disagree on this, but God is the central focus of who we are and why we are gathering. So let's make sure that we glorify Him. And so as we kind of just wrap up today, maybe we start to begin to think of how about that one relationship that we continually argue with, that we continually see, we don't seem eye to eye with, and that we say, God, how can you be glorified, and how can I win this relationship back for you, and that way we can not just to win the argument. We're going to pray, and I do pray that no matter what. That whenever we get into these conflicts and these arguments, which are just going to happen, because that just it does when people don't see eye to eye, that we remember to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Let's pray. Lord, we thank you so much for today, and we thank you for the blessing that you are in our lives. Be with us as we just mold these things over, and allow us, even if we pause this video and we're ignoring a conflict right now as we started this video, that Lord, as we enter back into whoever that we're going to go talk to, that would be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, so that we may win the relationship for your sake, for God's sake, and that we might be able to glorify you, and not just to win an argument for argument's sake. Lord, we love you. And we praise you for everything that you've given us. In Christ's name I pray. Amen. I hope that you have a great rest of your Wednesday evening, and look forward to hearing from you and just giving me a little bit of feedback on how God is going to be using this in your life as well. God bless, and I'll talk to you soon.